Polish-American Chamber of Commerce, Polsko-Amerykańska Izba Handlowa. That's an organization that represents, unites Polish businesses in United States, especially here in Chicago area. And we have a great pleasure of hosting here Mr. Dan Pasek, who is current president of the Polish-American Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Mr. Pasek.
Thank you for having me.
How long have you been involved with the chamber?
Well, almost since its inception, but about the fourth year that it existed, a friend of mine had invited me to become a member, and I've been a member ever since, so around 1998.
You represent the crucial moment. The chamber will be celebrating its 30th anniversary of existence. I'm hoping there's going to be some festivities.
We are planning an event. I can't say what date it's going to be yet, but likely in the spring. And we're very, very happy that the Chamber has managed to stay around that long, and all of the work that we've done for our members.
This is the cover of the Business Directory and Resource Guide that will be published just in a few days. It will first see the public eye at PACC Christmas Party, to which we'll come back, and we will also feature that in Polish Daily News in Dziennik Związkowy on December 15th, so be on the lookout for that. Mr. President, how Polish are you? You're second, third generation Pole?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you ask, because for a long time I never really considered myself very Polish. I didn't speak Polish as a child, and now I do. But once I discovered the Polish language and culture, I started to realize how deeply my family is Polish. On my father's side, I'm second generation here in Chicago. On my mother's side, third generation. None of my siblings speak or read or write Polish, so I'm kind of an anomaly in that respect.
Okay.
But I studied overseas several times, and one of those times I was in Krakow. I actually went twice, once for a summer program and once for a year-long program. And it was during those stays that I really perfected my knowledge of the language. The culture, on the other hand, I'm still pretty much American, I think.
But how much do you know about your Polish roots? Where was your family originally from?
On my father's side, it's fairly clear. My grandfather was born in a very small town south of Tarnów. It's called Zawada Uszewska. And we know that because he kept up contact with the family that was there. I had the pleasure of meeting his niece before she passed away a few years ago, and going to the family farm. So that half of the family we know quite a bit about, and the family in Zawada Uszewska was there, as far as I know, for centuries. I went to the cemetery, and every other grave has the name Pasek.
Really?
So, and I was asking my aunt, who are these Paseks? Well, they're all cousins. That's what.
Okay. Yeah, it happens so often.
On my mother's side, though, it's quite a different story, because the family emigrated here in the mid-19th century, and as far as we know, they probably came from somewhere around Gdańsk. The surname that she had was German in origin, but everyone spoke Polish.
Wow. So we can consider you 100% Polish. Polish mother, Polish dad. Here you are, president of Polish-American Chamber of Commerce. There is no way out. You touch a little about your education. You're a Rambler, alumni of Loyola University, and I was extremely happy to find out that you studied media. Let's talk about that.
Indeed, I studied radio and TV while I was at Loyola. They have a very, very good radio program there, even today. And I was a producer on a news program, which had the unfortunate distinction of running at the same time the Bears game did. And that was when the Bears actually had a good team. So we were struggling to keep an audience, but it was a lot of fun to work on the radio station.
So you were that close to becoming a journalist or producer?
I was. Actually, I was, but there was a deregulation that went on in the late 1980s in American media. Previously, one company could not own more than 7 radio stations, 7 television stations, and 7 newspapers. That all got blown out of the water. What that meant is there was a consolidation in the industry, and one of the things that was no longer required was news and public affairs programming, which is what I studied. I have an older brother who was a professional journalist for 27 years, and he struggled to hold down a job more than a few years because of that consolidation. He eventually ended up getting out of media and into public relations, because it was more steady work. And that's where I ended up too. I ended up working in public relations for professional service firms. And then eventually I got farther away from that, but always something to do with communication, with writing. I'm a natural writer. I love to write. So I was working as a technical writer for quite some time too, which was very pleasurable.
Great. You had an option, and you used that to study abroad. One of those instances was the Jagiellonian University in Krakow. What
Yes.
were you doing there?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I was there twice. Once was for a summer program, and the second time I was a Polish government scholar. They actually gave me a full scholarship to study Polish language and culture.
Right.
My original intent, I was still in graduate school at the time, was to stay in Poland and to finish a degree there, but that didn't pan out, unfortunately. I came back here and finished my degree at University of Illinois in Chicago.
And the other instance is Italy. That's even more interesting. Classical and ancient studies, Italian language, culture,
Yes.
and activities.
Yes. I do enjoy studying languages, you can see.
Yeah.
in high
Do
school.
you speak Italian?
Not anymore, unfortunately. I had a very good knowledge of it when I was in Italy, but if you don't use it, then you lose it. And it's even harder to speak Italian with someone in Chicago than it is Polish. I mean, there's a lot of Italians in Chicago, but you really have to go search someone out. But yeah, Loyola has a great program. The Rome Center is now called John Felice Rome Center, named after the founder, who was actually the director of the center when I was there. And it's a lovely program. It focuses on classical studies, as I mentioned. And I really love language, so it was an opportunity for me to pick up Italian and go and live in Italy, which is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I had in high school 7 years of language. I had 4 years of Latin and 3 years of Greek. And so for me, it was easy then to start studying other languages, and especially Polish. Polish is not an easy language for Anglophones.
Yes.
I've heard that it's probably the second hardest language to learn, aside from Chinese, for English speakers. And because I had that background in Latin and Greek, though, I was familiar with declensions, conjugations, case endings, and so forth. So I was a step ahead of...
A little easier.
Of others, yeah.
Wow, but the classical education, it's something that is lacking in so many educational systems, and that's impressive. From my perspective, that's awesome to be able to talk to you.
Yeah, the Jesuits especially really believe in having a broad base of study. They believe in the liberal arts. I went to a Jesuit high school here in Chicago, St. Ignatius, and also the studies there were based on something called the Studio Regiorum, which is something that Ignatius of Loyola created way back in the 15th century.
Yeah.
And what it requires is that you study language, that you study writing, that you study literature, and so forth, so that you really have a broad base.
Broad foundation on which you can build your specialty. Right now, you're in real estate. You are the managing broker, principal at Omniterra Real Properties. Let's talk about your company for a moment.
Well, I work by myself. I used to have agents that were under my license, but got out of that a few years ago. I find it very difficult to manage brokers because they're all independent contractors and everybody wants to do things as they may. But it's a highly regulated industry, and one false move and you can get into a lot of trouble. So I figured it's easier for me to take care of myself. So now I work by myself. Originally I had about 7 brokers under me, but I've been by myself for the past 10 years or so. I also started a second company, which is an investment company, with a partner, and it's called TLI Chicago. And what we do is we purchase tax delinquent properties and put them back into productive use.
Wonderful. So let's talk about your specialty. What Omniterra specializes in, your area of expertise?
Well, originally when I started the company back in 2004, we were going to try to build international relations so that people who wanted to invest overseas or people from overseas that want to invest here could do it easily, because real estate is practiced differently in every country in the world.
Different legal systems.
Different legal systems, different expectations. What that developed into actually was working with foreigners here in Chicago. And because of my background in intercultural communication, it kind of was right up my alley. So I've had clients not only from Poland, but also from Romania, from Mexico, from practically every country on the face of the earth. And when they're first-time buyers, they need a lot of education. They need to have someone to literally hold their hand so that they don't worry about the transaction or make mistakes. And that's what I do. More recently, I've actually developed a specialty with estate sales, because I found that my lawyer friends were calling me and asking me questions about properties that were being sold by persons who had inherited. And there were strange things going on, because there are investment companies that will come and say, well, we can sell your property, no hassle, just hand us the keys, you're going to close in 3 days, and we'll give you a check. Well, there are consequences to that, because what they're doing actually is undercutting the price, sometimes by 25 or 30%.
Oh, wow.
But a lot of times people who are grieving, they don't think about it. They just want to end the trauma. So I've actually created a subspecialty in that, with helping people through that difficult time, helping them to clean out the house, helping them to get repairs done, helping them to especially make sure they get the highest price possible.
Yeah, and it's a really difficult moment in lives of so many families, and help of professional help of somebody who knows exactly what to do at that moment is really crucial.
Absolutely, and that is definitely the case for sellers, but for buyers as well. Yeah.
Since we're talking about the real estate, it was a difficult year. Whoever I ask, everybody's complaining. For numerous reasons. How do you see the situation of the real estate market as of now?
Well, it's very slow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy that I have a second company, because the two balance off of one another. For brokers like me who list properties, there isn't much to sell because people are not moving.
So still no inventory on the market?
There's very little inventory, and that which is there sometimes is of very low quality, or it's way overpriced.
Yeah.
So what you're having is a competition among buyers who predominantly have cash, and those who finance, now they can be paying 8.5% interest, whereas just last year it was 4%.
Yeah, and I think that's another part of the problem. Like, not a lot of people can afford to replace 3.5% mortgage rate that they have right now, move and get themselves into 8+%.
You're absolutely right. Either that, or they have to take the cash equity out of their current property and just only use that cash to buy the second property. Now, there are some creative financing mechanisms that you can use too, where you do a first mortgage and a second mortgage, but I usually don't recommend them, because they can, if you run into financial difficulty, they can put you at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely there's not enough inventory, and it has been a very slow year. Last year was fairly slow as well. It's expected that the Federal Reserve is probably going to lower interest rates next year, so that may help some people make the decision to move on.
Yeah, so that would be my next question. How do you see 2024?
Well, I always like to keep a bright outlook on real estate. It's what I do, it's what I love. And I think that it could be a very good year. It is going to be very dependent on those interest rates, though. It does not look like we're going to have an economic crisis. The predictions are that we're going to have a so-called soft landing, and that the economy will continue to chug along. Of course, people complain because of inflation and prices going up for consumer goods, but generally speaking, the economy is in great health. So I think that it will be a productive year next year, and let's hope there'll be more to sell.
There's a lot of doomsayers who predict, catastrophic 2024. So I'm really happy to hear a voice like yours in this conversation. Let's come back to the Polish-American Chamber of Commerce. How do you see the condition of Polish-American businesses right now?
Well, I think that generally speaking, they're quite healthy. I do know that since there hasn't been as much immigration as there was in years past, that we see a slight lessening of the number of businesses, but it seems to me that the quality of them has actually improved. Polish-American Chamber works with its members in order to help the members understand what are good business practices, what are not. And that comes from help that we get from the state of Illinois, from the city of Chicago, from County of Cook, and from other organizations too. We hold seminars all the time that are informative for our members, and also may introduce them to other professionals that can help them to put together a business plan or develop their business in a direction that's going to be productive for them.
Yeah. You touched upon an extremely interesting thing. Indeed, there's no more fresh immigration from Poland. So Polish businesses have to focus on the American client.
You're absolutely right.
And they have to adjust to the same conditions that American companies has to work with. Does that pose a challenge? Are Polish businesses able to transition and find their other niches on the market?
I think they are, but it depends on the willingness of the business owners to do that. Some of the business owners feel that they're not capable of serving American clients. I think that's probably a mistake. Sometimes language is an issue too, because even though they may speak English at some level, they don't feel that they're proficient enough in order to do it on a daily basis with Americans who don't speak Polish. I can speak from personal experience that when I started dealing with Polish business in Poland, as a matter of fact, and I was using my second language, it's scary. It really is.
You had the situation the other way around, right?
Yes. There's a whole new vocabulary you have to learn. And I've been to Poland on multiple occasions to do seminars, lectures for my colleagues over there in the real estate industry. But the first couple of times I did it, I had to lean on some of my friends to ask about vocabulary, because I realized I know what these words are in English, but I have no idea what they are in Polish.
Yes.
So that's the kind of thing that I think that our organization can be helpful with for Polish business in Chicago. But I also want to remind you, too, that not all of the businesses who are members of PACC are Polish. You don't have to be Polish to be a member of Polish-American Chamber. You don't even have to speak Polish to be a member of Polish-American Chamber. And a good portion of our members come from the general American community. And the reason that they become members is not only because of those services I mentioned before, that business development services, but also they want to create relationships with Polish businesses in whatever field.
Wow, great. Polish-American Chamber of Commerce also creates a platform for networking. It's a perfect venue, perfect avenue to meet other business owners, to reach out to new clients. And PCC organizes a lot of events. One of those events is just around the corner on December 7th, Thursday, 6 o'clock at Dwell Studio Chicago. There's going to be a PACC Christmas party. What can we expect on that event?
Well, you can expect a lot of fun and good company, to be sure. It's an annual event that the Chamber holds, and typically there are many people from outside the Chamber who also attend, and I do invite all of your listeners to come. The Dwell Studio is a very interesting place. They have various types of artistic endeavors going on there, and the owners of the studio are also members of the Chamber. Yes, we're going to have live music. There's going to be lots of good food, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
And great company. So if you want to meet new people, if you want to reach out and establish some business contacts, mark your calendars. Thursday, December 7th, 6 o'clock, Dwell Studio Chicago. That's at 7449 West Irving Park Road, Chicago, 60634. Tickets can be purchased over the phone at 773-205-1998, 773-205-1998. You can also send an email to info@polishamericanchamber.org. So one more question. What's your vision? What are your goals as a president of the Polish-American Chamber of Commerce?
Well, that's a very, very big question. What I would say is I'd like to continue the good work we've been doing for nearly 30 years and also create some new opportunities for our members. Events are really, as you mentioned before, very important. We do hold a business after hours meeting each month, and when a new member joins, they have the opportunity to invite everyone to come and see their business at a business after hours event. Right. And I think that's a unique aspect of our trade association that others don't have. That we're very intimately involved with the members, and we allow them to promote their businesses directly to the other members. So, yeah, my vision for PACC is basically to continue developing what we've done over the past 30 years and continue getting new members who are Polish or not Polish.
Wonderful. I wish you a lot of success. I'm certain the Chamber is in great hands with you. So I'm looking forward to meeting all the members at the Christmas party. We're also looking forward to the publication of the business directory and resource guide. Look for it in Polish Daily News in Dziennik Związkowy on December 15th. Thank you so much. Our guest was Mr. Dan Pasek, current president of Polish-American Chamber of Commerce and also managing broker and principal at Omniterra Properties Incorporated. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you as well.